everybody, Frank here, Godzilla Island, with a comic book graphic novel review of World War Kaiju. Now, this is the first ever Kickstarter that I ever supported way back in 2013. It's written by Josh Feeney. Patrick McEvoy did the art on this. Michael Colbert lended some dialogue, additional designs, and written pieces inside, and Kat Rocha provided some more character and creature designs. Now, Pat McEvoy, if that name sounds familiar, he was on the show to discuss Gorgo Legacy. We've also brought him up when we discussed Soul War, when we reviewed that. So we've seen his work here on the channel already. This is some of his earliest work that I've owned. What's crazy is, so I bought this all the way back in 2013, supported the campaign. I think I actually got in on this campaign like one of the last few days. I might have even, when I had just started up GodzillaIsland.com, even like made a little post about it. I didn't do a ton with the campaign. I only just got the book, and I've looked back at the campaign page now and wish I got more add-ons, because I really enjoyed this book, and the campaign did really damn good. It had a $15,000 funding goal, which is really high in my opinion for a comic nowadays, and it surpassed it with 23,000 funding. You can actually still buy this book right now on Amazon.com. It's listed. You can pick it up. It's a nice size. It's a big book. It's a graphic novel. Still retailing at that $19.99 price point. Takes place post 1945. Instead of dropping the bomb on Japan, they dropped this big guy, or Godzilla parody, if you will. Fat Boy, I believe is his name. His real name is Ryujin. But overall, really cool book. Ryujin. It's basically, the story is, we have Nick Hampton, who is like an ex-government agent who worked in secret agencies like CIA and this Kaiju task force. He's being interviewed by this reporter Keegan. Nick Hampton is depicted as Nick Adams, actually, who you may know, the late Nick Adams, from King Kong Escapes, the McConaughey Kong movie. He's the American lead in that movie. And also throughout this book, we also have a Doc Soberaya, who looks a lot like Akira Takarada, who was also in King Kong Escapes, ironically. So it's funny to see the two of them put together in this book. There's a little disclaimer at the beginning saying, hey, any characters or monsters that resemble the likeliness of other known celebrities, etc., is intentional and used for the purpose of homage and parody. Really incredible art in here. The intro is the bombing in Tokyo, but like I said, instead they unleash Ryujin, King of the Beast. Really cool art. This rising here out of the water gives me Gorgo vibes. That scene when he first attacks the village, rising out of the water, the glowing eyes. Really cool monster. It wreaked a lot more havoc than they had intended. They thought it would be a quick thing, and it became this whole big change. A new arms race. Countries were building their own kaiju. Russia tried to make their own. They made a giant armadillo, the red armadillo, and he's got all these spikes like Anguirus. Kind of looks like a dog, honestly, but apparently the spikes were riveted on, and it was a pretty not so great kaiju. They just added the spikes to make it be more intimidating, and it wasn't even naturally red. They spray painted it. And then Fat Boy Ryujin had another one called Little Boy, who was just an abomination, apparently. I guess it's a knock at Minya or Manila, if you will. And basically, how these kaiju were created is there were these crystals, as you see here, and they used them to create and hatch kaiju. We learn later on in the book from their version of the fairy twins that aliens from a distant planet had done something similar to what the humans had, and they were using the kaiju for war, and it ended up destroying their planet. So millions and millions of years ago, they found Earth before it was even populated by human life or any sentient life. They deposited all the kaiju that they had built. Pretty much they disarmed their planet and dumped them with these crystals onto the planet so that their planet could hopefully recover now, because the planet was a desolate wasteland. And then we learn that some aliens came to Roswell, and they were pretty much trying to make a sales pitch at the time to the president, and he was like, I'm not a fool. They throw this whole Earth progress, luxury, and profit hollow PowerPoint up, and he's like, I'm not buying that. He's like, I'm not some ass that's gonna fall from some crappy sales pitch. And he releases one of the United States kaiju on the UFO, shoots it down, and continues to make kaiju. And throughout this whole thing, I honestly think Keegan's kind of an annoying character, because Hampton's literally just telling him how it is straight up. He is dodging some of Keegan's questions, but the whole time he's like, you're full of shit, you're full of shit. Like, he doesn't believe any of this. He's like, dude, you're on a planet full of monsters right now. You want conspiracy theories, here they are, here's the answers. Here's Nick Hampton depicted as his younger self, and you can clearly tell he looks like Nick Adams. Here they are testing a weapon on a sort of Gamma-like kaiju with spikes on its back. This is their version. They're doing it on a little small scale, almost like Toku City set here to test out the weapon. It looks like a maser-ish cannon. The monster assured destruction gun. And here is Professor Sobaraya. Clearly looks like Akira Takarada, especially in this shot there. And then we get to see their exploits on the ships. Three guys on the ship, very Jaws-like there. Clearly it's a nod. And then we get this whole little montage of different monsters. You get this mushroom one, this Aztec robot, giant alligator, a dragonfly. There's is that the rabbit? Oh yes, yeah, I skipped that page. There was a rabbit in Scotland that they were feeding, that a cult began worshiping, and they were feeding tax collectors to. One of the interesting things about the rabbit that we discovered, so at the beginning of the book, we learn that the governments are finding all their own K crystals to hatch kaiju from, but they're saying from doing all this experimenting on the crystals that it's released these K particles into the air, and now it's mutating natural fauna. So they're saying this actually used to be a regular rabbit. This wasn't a government hatched kaiju, it was a mutation. So that leaves some open stuff there. Then towards the back end, we're getting towards some more conspiracy. Something was found in Antarctica, a buried kaiju from pre-Ice Age, along with an artifact, maybe a spaceship. But apparently it got all cleared out. And then a town of 900 was cleared out too and disappeared. And then it kind of ends with this big cliffhanger, because Keegan, one of the lessons, he's like, so what made you like a true believer in all this, and that you're here to spill this? He's like, well, it was the Formosa crisis, which I'm assuming is 1958. I don't know if that's the Cuban Missile Crisis, but this looks like a Giganish kaiju here with some electric. It's clearly a cyborg kaiju hybrid. It looks almost like that. It almost like it's like the fake Imperial guy again. You know, where it's got the tooth kind of. I have one of those, the yellow guy. But that's where the book ends, and we get a couple little like propaganda style comics and news tidbits at the back, some articles, the scientific terminology here used throughout, the explanation of how the crystals work and how they make kaiju, Big Ben, Fat Man, Little Boy. I really enjoyed this book, and I can't believe it took me pretty much a decade to read after owning this one. You know, when we did the interview with Pat, and he was like, "Did you read World War Kaiju?" And I'm like, "I've actually supported the campaign, but it was just sort of time when I had a lot going on in life, and I just never got to reading it." I cannot believe it took me this long to read it. Really enjoyed it. I hope you guys pick it up too on Amazon. I would really love to see them make another one. I know it's been 10 years since we got a prequel, but it kind of left extremely open. There does not feel like there's much closure at the end of this. Like, you need a second book, and we've only got one. I might reach out to Pat on this one and be like, "Hey, what's going on? Any plans for book 2? Because this is the Cold War years. We got to see what happens after those years, and what else is going on in this interview." But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and let me know if you were a fellow backer on this, and if I'm crazy for waiting all this time to read it. Have a good one, guys.